Level 1. Perimeter Guard asterisk 3014 AM. The thermal screen blooms white for half a second, then cuts back to black. Something just crossed Sector C outside the fence line 200 yards past the Jersey barriers, out where the desert starts eating the road. You don't ask questions. You key the mic, call it in, and keep your eyes on the feed while the sweat crawls under your plate carrier. 12 hours on the perimeter, 6 days straight, $214 after taxes if you clear the shift without getting written up. That's what your life costs right now. You work a private site in the Central Valley dust, way past the last gas station, where almond orchards give up and razor wire takes over. Every morning starts the same. Retinal scan, thumbprint, locker search. They check your paperwork harder than cops on a felony stop. No burner phones, no jewelry, no side chatter. Even your heartbeat gets logged through the patch under your undershirt. The old heads tell you most rookies get pressed by the boredom before they get pressed by a threat. They start drifting, start checking their fantasy football in the blind spots, start thinking the cameras aren't watching them while they watch the fence. Then they're gone. Tonight the drone comes in low and ugly, no running lights, just a heat signature skipping over the scrub like it knows the dead zones. Your supervisor barks at you to hold post. No hero moves. No freelance. You stay planted in a prefab tower that smells like dust, instant coffee, and gun oil while the response team slides out in armored trucks. That's when it clicks. You're not security. You're bait with a badge. And somehow, this is still better than bouncing at clubs off the 405 for cash under the table. So the question starts right there. While the drone hovers over the fence and your pulse spikes against company sensors, how do you survive long enough to stop being disposable? Level 2, Mobile Response Operator. 6 months later, you're no longer stuck in a tower. Now you ride in the back of a matte black Bearcat with 4 other operators, knees touching medkits and breaching charges, rolling through industrial blocks near the port of Long Beach before sunrise. You got promoted because you stayed calm when the drone incident turned hot. Not brave, not special, just useful. Now your work is mobile, faster, dirtier, better paid. $1,850 a week base plus hazard plus offshore retention bonuses they dangle like bands in front of hungry people. They issue you a 2026 Neuralink headset that sits behind your ear and feed squad chatter straight into your skull. Positioning, heart rates, live map overlays. Every man on the team tracked down to his breathing pattern. It feels clean the first week. By the second, it feels like the company lives inside your head. Your missions shift from guarding fences to recovering critical assets. Sometimes that means an executive's son who got snatched in a bad district outside LA. Sometimes it means encrypted drives pulled from a penthouse in DTLA before local law even knows there's a problem. Sometimes it means escorting cargo from shipping containers stacked like tombstones while dock workers pretend not to see. One job sticks. A chem engineer goes missing during a labor flare-up in a neighborhood the company maps as unstable. Your team hits the block at 11:42 p.m. Kids are still out. Music's still playing. Taqueria smoke in the air. You move hard anyway. Doors get blown. Flashbangs pop. You find the engineer zip-tied in a back room beside 2 locals who don't fit the company report. One reaches for a phone. You point man drops him before the screen lights up. Afterward, legal says the site was a hostile hold location. Corporate says civilian overlap was unavoidable. The body cam cut they preserve starts late and ends early. You cash the bonus. You tell yourself you're just putting in work, protecting contracted property, running a recovery. But on the ride back, looking out at the cranes over Long Beach and the gray water under them, you realize the company doesn't care what's true. It cares what survives the paperwork. Level 3, Senior Operator. By year 2, you're the one newer guys watch. Your kit is cleaner. Your timing is tighter. You know how to stack on a door without scraping concrete, how to read a room in one sweep, how to tell who's scared and who's active before they move. Your contract footprint spreads. Oakland warehouses, high-rises in DTLA, executive compounds above Malibu, where the driveway cameras cost more than your first apartment. You go where the client's money feels nervous. This rank is where skill turns into reputation. You're no longer muscle, you're trusted muscle. They put you on extraction details, counter-surveillance runs, transport security for people whose names never hit public records. You start carrying 2 phones company issue and one they never officially gave you. One for orders, one for when orders need to disappear. At 2007 a.m. in an In-N-Out parking lot off the 5, you meet a subcontractor in a gray Tacoma to swap encrypted drives and hard copy manifests. Animal fries smell hangs in the air while two men in soft armor talk over milkshake machines and idling engines. That's California private war now. Not flags, not front lines, parking lots, access cards, silent contracts. Then the first betrayal lands. A team you trained with gets folded by a federal task force in Riverside. Not during a raid, during a handoff. Somebody leaked routing. Somebody sold movement windows. 3 operators end up in cuffs. One gets shot reaching for a rifle he never should have had in the vehicle. Corporate sends a memo before dawn. All detained personnel are classified as unauthorized subcontractors pending review. Pending review. You read that line 3 times and understand exactly what it means. If the company can't save you clean, it never knew you. That lesson makes you colder. Better too. You start checking everyone's paperwork yourself. Drivers, liaisons, vendor reps, even men wearing your patch. Especially them. Because once you're stuck in the mix at this level, trust is just another liability. Level 4. Tactical elitist promotion comes after a clean extraction in Koreatown that should have collapsed. Wrong intel, wrong floor plan, wrong package. You improvise. Pull 2 wounded men out through a service stairwell, reroute traffic with a fake gas leak alert, and get the client on a helicopter pad 12 minutes ahead of local response. Now you lead. You don't carry the heaviest gun anymore. You carry the pace, the mood, the blame. Your tablet matters more than your trigger finger now. Blue Force trackers, insurance corridors, police scanner delays, medevac routes, non-disclosure penalties. Every operation is half tactics, half corporate damage control. You're managing shooters, lawyers, and liars at once. You brief teams in windowless rooms south of LAX, then send them sliding into places where one wrong move becomes an international incident. You decide who rides in the first vehicle and who gets left in reserve. You sign off on force packages. You choose whether a neighborhood gets treated like a transit route or a threat zone. And this is where the moral line really goes soft. A client wants sensitive equipment recovered from a clinic fronting as a community aid site. Your surveillance says there are actual patients inside, local med staff, families, not armed, not the set, not active. Corporate still wants the grab, so you run it at 4:26 a.m., just before shift change, smallest footprint possible, no long guns visible, quiet entry. Fast sweep. You get the target case and leave in 4 minutes, 38 seconds. A little girl sees you on the way out. She's standing in a hallway under busted fluorescent lights, holding a blanket, staring straight at your face shield like she's trying to understand what kind of men come through doors before sunrise. You finish the op. You file the report. You use the approved language, no hostile civilian interference. That morning, sitting in traffic off the 405 with blood drying under your watch strap, you understand something ugly. Pulling triggers was simpler. Leadership means making bad things efficient. Level 5, Regional Security Leadership. You stop kicking doors and start running regions. Now you wake up to encrypted dashboards, not gunfire. West Coast portfolio, 7 active contracts, 4 sovereign clients. 2 shell corporations, 1 crisis map always glowing red somewhere. Your office sits in a glass building in Century City, but the real work happens in secure rooms with no windows and no clocks. You wear a tailored suit over the same old scars and spend your day moving men like inventory. Fresno site reinforcement, Oakland port interdiction support, aviation escort in San Diego, executive convoy in the Hollywood Hills. You approve budgets down to the round count and helicopter fuel burn. This level pays stupid money, $486,000 a year before performance incentives, stock grants, and unlisted retention packages. Enough to move into a place with city views and still feel nothing when you open the fridge. You negotiate with state officials who publicly hate companies like yours and privately need deniable solutions. You sit across from men with flags behind them and discuss force deployment using words like stabilization, continuity, infrastructure assurance. Everybody in the room knows they mean armed control. Nobody says it. Then a site in Baja goes bad. A local partner sells coordinates. Equipment gets seized. 2 operators vanish. 1 reappears on a video, bruised and reading a statement that sounds fed to him line by line. Corporate asks for your recommendation, not rescue. Not retaliation, Recommendation. You know the cost matrix before the meeting starts. Exposure risk, media cycle, shareholder impact, legal contamination. If you authorize a recovery and it fails, you burn 3 contracts and maybe pull federal heat across state lines. If you don't, the company takes the loss, rewrites the story, and keeps moving. The phrase they use is liquidating failed assets. Asset means trucks, drones, servers, offshore accounts. Sometimes it means people. You sign off on site sterilization, data wipe, severance of contractor affiliation. Clean words for a dirty thing. You tell yourself the men were already gone. You tell yourself the company survives because someone has to make calls without flinching. But when the secure line goes dead, you sit there staring at your own reflection in a black monitor and realize you haven't been one of the guys in a long time. Now you're the weather. Level 6, Director of Strategic Operations. At this rank, California is just one node. You oversee corridors from Sacramento server farms to Gulf shipping lanes, from downtown San Francisco executive protection grids to mineral routes nobody admits they're funding. Your world is boardrooms, private hangars, and SIFs buried under office parks that look like accounting firms from the street. You move with a smaller security footprint because nobody's supposed to know how important you are. 2 SUVs, alternate routes. No routines. Your driver changes lanes like somebody always has a rifle on you, because somebody probably does. You handle mergers between violence and bureaucracy, procurement, autonomous systems, biometric access chains, policy carve-outs. You review pilot programs for quadruped patrol units, autonomous gun trucks, AI-assisted behavioral scans at entry points. The gear is cleaner than the old days. The outcomes aren't. A federal inquiry hits one of your California subsidiaries after a whistleblower dumps internal files to a reporter in Oakland. Routing logs, body cam discrepancies, offshore bonus structures tied to kinetic resolution metrics. Bad paper. Very bad paper. For 12 hours, your career hangs over an abyss. Then the head fake lands. The raid everybody feared doesn't target headquarters. It hits a lower shell in Nevada stocked with sacrificial files and deniable contractors. Somebody above you had been planning for this leak before you even heard the reporter's name. The system flexes, sheds skin, and keeps breathing. That should comfort you. It doesn't, because if they can erase whole departments that fast, they can erase you too. You spend that week in meetings deciding who gets cut loose. A compliance vice president, 2 legal intermediaries, 1 operations liaison you used to drink with after runs in Long Beach. They get packaged as irregular actors outside policy scope. Their access dies in real time. Elevator badges off, payroll frozen, phones bricked. One of them calls your private line from a number you don't know. You let it ring. That night, in a penthouse above DTLA, looking down at helicopter strobes and traffic crawling like blood through arteries, you finally get it. The higher you go, the less you use violence yourself. You just direct where it lands. Level 7, Inner Sanctum Commander. The bunker sits under a corporate campus outside San Jose, beneath mirrored buildings and decorative drought-proof landscaping. From the street it looks like biotech money. Underneath it's a hardened command vault with blast doors, redundant power, private med bays, and enough encrypted bandwidth to run a small war. This is your kingdom now. Your title sounds protective. It's really imperial. You oversee board security, continuity protocols, succession contingencies, black budget response teams, and predictive threat modeling across 3 continents. Every visitor is mapped before they arrive. Every cleaner, caterer, consultant, and board spouse gets checked, rechecked, and scored for deviation. You don't trust facial expressions anymore. You trust anomaly reports. The AI stack flags a procurement analyst in Irvine for unusual transit patterns, message gaps, and repeated proximity to a foreign trade office in San Francisco. No smoking gun. Just drift. 10 years ago you need surveillance teams, warrants, tail cars. Now you need 87 seconds and executive authorization. You greenlight a soft intercept. Devices mirrored. Bank records scraped. Apartment entered while he's at a gym. By evening, the system predicts a 71% probability of industrial compromise. By midnight, he's gone from every directory, every badge log, every benefits file. His neighbors get told he relocated for a family emergency. Maybe he was dirty. Maybe he was lonely and stupid. At this level, maybe is enough. You also command the hardware nobody discusses on earnings calls. autonomous perimeter drones, loitering munitions, remote breaching platforms, sensor fog deployments, surgical force without public fingerprints. You approve strikes by tapping screens and letting distance do the emotional work. One evening at 18:19 p.m., while the board eats sea bass 2 floors above your command deck, you neutralize an espionage team before they touch a server rack at a secondary site near Santa Clarita. The whole thing lasts 5 minutes. Camera feeds, raw lock, drone intercept, cleanup package. No yelling, no smoke, no adrenaline. Just confirmations. You used to think power felt heavy. It doesn't. It feels remote, clinical, like checking weather systems and deciding which storm reaches shore. And yet you sleep less than ever. Every vent hum sounds wrong. Every delay in an encrypted reply feels loaded. Every new face in the hallway gets a second look. Untouchable is just another word for alone. Level 8, Chief Executive of Global Defense. You don't wear armor now. You wear silence. Your office isn't the top floor. That's for branding. The real command suite is behind biometric glass and acoustic shielding in a tower overlooking the bay, with a second chair always empty because nobody sits across from you as an equal. On paper, you run a security firm. In practice, you manage a private empire with aircraft, satellites, cyber units, proxy militias, legal carve-outs, and enough cash flow to make small governments act polite. Presidents call your board. Energy firms call you directly. Markets move when your analysts update risk tables. Ports tighten when your logistics branch changes routes. Elections don't need to be rigged when instability can be forecast, financed, and sold protection in advance. You don't conquer nations. You make them dependent. At 6:03 a.m., while fog hangs over the bay and container ships idle offshore, you review 3 options on a conflict zone tied to rare earth transit. Option 1 calms things down and kills quarterly demand for private stabilization. Option 2 lets violence simmer just enough to justify expanded contracts. Option 3 fractures a regional alliance and opens long-term dependency across 2 sectors. You choose Option 2. Not because you're angry, not because you enjoy it, because empires don't feed on peace. They feed on managed fear. You own houses you never sleep in, cars you never drive, security teams who would die for you and probably report on you in the same hour. Your food gets screened, your flights get ghost manifests. Your grandchildren know your face from secure family briefings more than birthdays. The money stopped meaning anything levels ago. The bands became numbers. The numbers became leverage. The leverage became a prison with better lighting. Some nights you open old archived footage just to remember what your own life looked like before glass walls and kill chain briefings. A tower in the dust, a cheap chair, a thermal feed flickering at 3:14 a.m. A younger version of you standing post, still thinking survival and success were the same thing. They weren't. Success just got you a cleaner cage. And down at a new contract site off the edge of the Central Valley, under floodlights and camera poles, a fresh kid is emptying his pockets into a gray security tray. Cheap watch, cracked phone, folded paperwork. He gets his retinal scan, gets issued a patch, gets posted to the perimeter fence before dawn. He watches a black screen, waiting for something to move in the dark, not knowing the whole machine is already built to use him, raise him, hollow him out, and replace him.